Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. This is our September 11th, 2022 virtual sermon for Polaris Christian Church. I want to remind you, like always, that this sermon is, I put this out there for people who can't make it in on a Sunday, or to an in-person gathering, or maybe you're just thinking about joining our church and checking things out, scoping things out a little bit. So this is for you. And while I hope these are helpful for your spiritual growth, and I believe very strongly that spiritual growth is best sustained as part of a gathering of other followers of Jesus who are also trying to grow. That's the best path. So I hope you'll consider finding a gathering of people, who are growing with Jesus and get connected there. And of course, if you're around the Brunswick area, Polaris is always open to you. So today I want to talk about kids, because as a church, like they're central to our vision as a church. And I want to talk through a few parenting tidbits, because we're talking about kids, and then I'll talk about maybe the most important parenting passage in the Bible, which actually speaks to all of us, whether you're a parent or not, because we're all kind of trying this even more difficult task of raising ourselves into a decent human being, and that's a lifetime endeavor. So I read a book called Too Small to Ignore back in 2009. And there has been no book that I have ever read that has had a greater immediate impact on my life than that book, Too Small to Ignore. It immediately centered my focus around the importance of children and helping to shape a church that's centered around children. The book is built around the author's personal life story, Wes Stafford, and it's also built around Matthew 18. Matthew 18 says this about Jesus: He called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me." How we treat children is how we treat Jesus. That was huge for me to see that and have that explained to me. How we treat children is how we treat Jesus. Jesus takes it personal, how we treat children. We welcome them, we welcome him. So if I want to build a church that gets it right, or play my role in building a church that gets it right, I'll start with pouring into the direction of a church, using my energy to make sure that the church is passionate about serving and connecting with children. And in doing so, we actually center a church or our individual lives around Jesus. This is why we work hard at Polaris to make sure our children's ministry connects well with kids. Many of you chose Polaris because your kids kept demanding that you keep going back. For those of you that are a part of our church family, the programs connect with them while you're in big church, in the auditorium worshiping. Also, this is why we as a church invest so heavily in Rise and Shine. We try to make Rise and Shine as affordable as we possibly can. And, we've given over 90% of the building that I'm standing in right now and building usage to Rise and Shine. We reach hundreds of children, helping them feel their worth in God's eyes. And if you're maybe watching today as someone who's a part of Rise and Shine, I'm glad you joined our church family. A lot of our church, many families, ended up joining our Polaris family through Rise and Shine Preschool. It was the front door for your kids to connect with us. We aren't just local or regional with this value for children. We have taken it clear across the world. Chuck and Christy Badley are a part of our Polaris family. Christy was a vital part of Rise and Shine, and they were so inspired by Matthew 18 that when they saw children in the profound poverty in Costa Rica, they made plans to move their whole family there to do something about that. Polaris donated money to purchase a youth center in one of the poorest areas of Costa Rica. Chuck and Christy now live there, reaching children on our behalf, pointing them to God's love. So last Christmas Eve, we gave our entire offering, which was around $50,000, to cover their budget for the year. Here is our first video update from Chuck and Christy and Love Pure Ministry.
Hey Polaris, this is Chuck and Christy Badley, and we're down here actually in the youth center in Alalita, and we just want to give you guys an update on what's going on.
We've had camp for the January camps, and then we just got back from camp up in the mountains with the teens a couple of weekends ago, so you'll see some things on Facebook about that. We're still doing Bible clubs for the small guys in the shanties, and we're doing Teen Bible Club here on Wednesday nights. We average about 30 kids, 40 kids every Wednesday night, teenagers. We have tutoring that goes on here 2 days a week right now, possibly going to become more. And then we have English classes that are also going on here, I think twice a week also, for those kids that are interested in just taking their English up to the next level to help them be able to get a job. We do have a couple of new activities that we have some like pilot programs going to try out. One is a preschool age program where we're trying to get some kids ages like 3 to 5 in here. There's not a lot for them right now, and we know there's a ton of them in the community. So we're trying to get them in. We've had maybe 5 or 6. I think our top number so far was 6, and obviously we want a lot more kids in here than that. So we're not sure what the challenge is. We haven't identified it yet, but we're trying some different solutions to identify it. We don't know if it's, moms being able to leave the houses to bring the kids here. We don't know if it's that the school schedule's really funny, so we're trying to figure out that, but we're just going to keep trying different ways to get them here, because we know it's an age group that desperately needs them. We have all the books from Rise and Shine that they donated last year, so we've got all those here. We've got some art supplies and stuff, so we're just trying to get the kids here to start that program going. Okay, the second program that we have piloting is actually the first one is going to be this Saturday. It's a program for teen girls only. We have a friend here who is Costa Rican, so she understands the culture a little bit and the challenges that these girls face specifically in this macho culture that they live in. And so she's going to come in, and they're also going to do some type of craft, just something to do with their hands to keep them busy, and they're just going to talk. It's just a safe place to have their talk, and she's going to start identifying some of the things that they're dealing with and problems, and just trying to help them through that.
Yeah, we're excited. We appreciate everybody's thoughts, prayers, support, and
Messages. Love getting those messages from you guys.
So we will see everybody soon.
Ciao.
So because this virtual sermon today is about school-aged kids, I'd like to take just a few minutes to talk through a few parenting tidbits. My wife Kelly and I have 2 high school-aged boys, a senior and a freshman. We've not arrived by any means in terms of parenting, but I have seen some things over the years, and I'd just like to give you a few quick bits of learning, and then we'll talk through another scripture. So first, I'll talk you through the 3 most useful parenting nuggets that I've ever learned and have seen work, and then we'll talk through a principle that applies beyond parenting, that it's for us. For parents out there looking for advice, I have 17 years of personal experience, and I've seen a lot of theories play out. So here are the 3 most impactful practices in my parenting world. The first came from Phil and Leanne Beck, good friends of ours. When Kelly was pregnant with our first, Spencer, we were over at their house, and I remember them saying, like it was yesterday, a baby is a welcomed addition, not the center of the family. Baby is a welcomed addition, not the center of the family. And as a pastor, I've seen the dark side of this. Trust me on this. They were right. It is extremely important for you to remember, if you are married, that the marriage is the center of the family. Now, obviously, Jesus is the center of the family, but when it comes to family dynamics, marriage is the center of the family. I've watched many families get those things shifted. The baby is a welcomed addition. The marriage is the center. Like Abraham Lincoln said, the best thing a father can do for his child is to love their mother. The same for the mom. Best thing you can do for the baby is to love their father. I know that for some, things haven't worked out for all of you, and I know that. And I don't say this to wound anyone. God can still fix broken things. He's great at that. I'm just saying that I strongly recommend adopting that philosophy from day one. This baby is a welcomed addition, but not the center of this family. Okay? Second bit of advice was for raising babies. Okay, and I learned this from Tammy Campbell, who watched our kids while Kelly and I were at work. She started to teach Spencer as soon as he was old enough to crawl. She taught him to crawl on his belly backwards down the steps. She worked with him for hours on that. And I was mortified at first. Why are you playing on the steps with my kid, But it turned out to be genius. She said, if you're ever upstairs and they get away from you, or they climb up on their own somehow, they get away from you and manage to climb up the steps, they'll know how to get down safely. It was brilliant, because if you've ever had a crawler, you know this. They get away. They're like little ninjas. And you don't want them on the steps. But it gives them a fighting chance to get to safety if they are on the steps, okay? Third thing came from our other parenting mentors, Bill and Kathy Beebe, and it's simple, and I know that this is too late for some of you, so this is just my opinion. Worked very well, okay? We waited until 13 years old for our boys to have a full-fledged working phone. They griped, we're the only ones. We fought the battle, and I'm glad we did. Finally, if you're raising kids or teens, buy John Roseman's The Well-Behaved Child and Teen Proofing. Buy those books. They were parenting Bible for us. They were the parenting Bible for us. Okay, let me move on to a parenting principle that actually is essential for all of us. Raising kids or raising ourselves, okay? Even if you're single, never had kids, this is important because you're parenting your own soul all the time. It's based out of Matthew 20. It says, then the mother of Zebedee's sons, that's James and John, came to Jesus with her sons and kneeling down asked for a favor. What is it you want? He asked. She said, grant that one of these two sons of mine may sit at your right and the other at your left in your kingdom. You don't know what you're asking, Jesus said. Can you drink the cup I am going to drink? We can, they answered. Jesus said to them, you will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or my left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared by my Father. When the ten heard about this, they were indignant. They were furious with the two brothers. And Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. This is a parenting passage. A parent, their mom, wanted her kids to be great, but great in the eyes of the world. She thought Jesus was about to become the ruler of the world, of a special kind of kingdom. She thought as the Messiah, Jesus was about to march into Jerusalem through the power of God and become the ruler of the world. So she's saying, make my sons vice president and secretary of state, okay? Let them sit at your right and at your left. Make them powerful. Jesus says, in the world without God, for Gentiles, that's what he means by that, it's about position and status. Then he says, not so with you. In God's kingdom, servanthood is greatness. Parents and grandparents, if we really want our kids to be great in God's sight, he lays out for us what that means. What it means to Jesus to be great. And it's servanthood. It's serving the last chair at the table. It's cleaning the vomit from the homeless shelter bathroom floor so they can have a sanitary environment. Sometimes we only think we want our kids to be great. We just kind of think we want greatness for them. But a lot of God's marks of greatness don't compare well on Facebook with other people's kids. The humbling exercise is to evaluate the time, energy, and effort and money you spend in uplifting the value of servanthood in your children versus the same resources you spend in uplifting the worldly definitions of greatness in your kids. Grades, activities, batting averages, minutes played, teams made, a better orchestra seat number, better college, and we could go on. Do your kids know that true greatness is found in servanthood? And the power seeking of the world and the world's definition of success are really lies that ultimately, time and again, lead to emptiness and despair. Remember, it's not just a parenting thing. It's a great reminder to all of us. If we want to make anything or anyone great, it starts with selflessness and servanthood. It's a humbling lesson. It's an important lesson as we define greatness for our kids, as we define greatness for ourselves, as we think about greatness in the eyes of the world through Facebook comparisons and stuff. Jesus says it starts with servanthood. So parents, make sure your kids don't get through their time at your house with the only greatness being defined as the greatness in the eyes of the world and you yourself. Make sure you don't get through this life looking for greatness and missing God's definition of greatness. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.